Hi everyone, this is Lisa Hendricks from parkbench.com, and I'm here today with Angela Garland from Exit 11 Workspace and Coffee House and Exit 11 Drive-Thru Coffee. So she's quite the entrepreneur. We just met today and I am so impressed. Her mind just goes a zillion miles an hour, so it's hard to keep up, but we'll try. Angela, I know you describe your business as a hybrid. What do you mean by that?
Well, we started as a co-working and meeting center, and then we added the coffee shop. And I guess what I mean is it's where, hybrid is where multiple things come together. And that's essentially what we've done. And not everyone knows this, but we can, some people know us as an off-site training center and lunch and place to have a lunch and learn and a workshop. Other people know us as a coffee house, and other people know us like, oh, that's the place where you can rent an office, or by the hour or the day or the week or the month. Other people use us as a place for a Bible study. Some people use us just for printing. Some people use us for telephone answering, mail receipt. So there's all of these things that come together, and I can use the same staff, the same space, and leverage all of that and be, I know it's hard to wear multiple hats, but the whole idea behind this originally was I was a young mom driving around, and I would go to Kinko's and I'd bake copies, and then I'd go someplace to get my coffee, and then I'd have to go someplace to pick up my mail, and then I still needed a place to go meet with someone. So it's like, why can't we bring everything together in the same place? And so you can print, grab a latte, have a meeting, and pick up your mail.
Wow.
All in the same place.
It's a fascinating idea. Fascinating. And I know it's big on the coast,
Yeah.
right? But here in Washington, brand new.
Yes.
Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. So, speaking of Washington, why did you decide to start this business here in little old Washington?
Well, I had a friend who was living out here, and she was actually managing this building, and she said, would you ever consider Washington? And of course I'm open to any and all possibilities. She said, because I think the owner of this building would be open to that. I've shared a little bit about what you're trying to do, because I had owned a business center in the early 2000s, sold it, but the way that I started it was also through an entrepreneurial landlord, and that was back in when all the .coms were out of business. They had phone system, internet, furniture, everything sitting there doing nothing. So I'm really good at turning nothing into something, I guess. So the space was vacant. The building needed some new life, and so he loved the concept. And I've always, this has been a couple decade idea, and so I've always envisioned that it would be in other cities, because the benefit to being a member here would be if I'm in LA or Chicago or Lee Summit or whatever, I can go visit any of them. So I thought, if I ever have to go open up in another town, I'm not going to know anyone. So why not Washington? And I also had the history of my parents had owned the Old Dutch for a short time in the 90s, and then they worked at Schweigeman House, which is now a law firm with Kurt Voss. So they were here 7 or 8 years. So the commute, I thought, that's no big deal. Some people think it's so far away, but it's not so far away. No. And then I met, the owner and did some research in the market. And there are, I think at the time, there was like 1,200 non-employee businesses in Washington, Missouri, which means these are people that are working from home. They're independent consultants. They have their own little LLC. And so I thought if I could somehow reach those people and provide a space for them to come to and get on the internet, have a cup of coffee, meet with a friend. And so now it's just grown from there. It's gone in all kinds of directions that I never even had any idea it would go. Like, I don't know, a drive-through coffee shop. So I never thought 3 years ago when we opened this that this is where we would end up. But I don't know if you've heard the term pivot, but if you're not pivoting, and now you got to move fast. You can't say, well, this is what I said we were going to do, and I'm just going to stay here. Because if I had done that, we probably would have closed within a year and a half, because the community wasn't understanding, what is this co-working? I don't know what you're trying to do. It's like, number one, I wasn't from here, and I'm trying to put this strange concept in their land. And so it took starting to have people to come here, and then we elaborated on the coffee piece, and then we started to do breakfast and lunch and pastries, and came up with some unique menu items. And so some people just come here for the breakfast burrito because they heard about the breakfast burrito, and then they're like, oh, you have meeting rooms here, oh, and I can pick up my mail here. I mean, just so as a as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, I mean, my husband and I are partners together, but it's it's hard to communicate which message do I want to share. Do I want to say, yep, we just do printing here. Yep, color printing. No, because I want to make sure they know that we have lattes and fraps and that they can host their next business meeting. We have, like tonight, our training room's being rented out with a group that's doing a career fair. And then on Saturday, it'll be used as a Bible study. And then next week, it'll be used by one of the large manufacturing companies for a lunch and learn. And then we have a gal that's going to use it tomorrow morning for a coaching session. So it's like all kinds of things going on.
Yeah, I had no idea this space, that you use the space the way you do. And to me, just walking in here, it just feels like a little community inside our bigger community. So it's a very cool concept.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Now, you mentioned your drive-through.
Yes.
And I have to admit, driving past that when it was, being developed, I thought you were relocating, and I'm sure a lot of other people did too. So what was the idea behind that?
Well, number one, the building, we've evolved into more of a coffee shop, and we're still in an office building. So we're getting a lot of people from the building and visitors to the building, but if you were driving by, it may not occur to you to look up and see that, oh, there's a coffee shop in here. So it didn't, just from an exposure standpoint, to say, hello, we're here. I mean, we had coffee flags and all that, and then also lots of people like myself who don't want to get out of the car. We're moving 1,000,000 miles an hour. We're on to the next place. I visited Washington State where my daughter was, and I was outside Mount Rainier, and I just looked, what's the population outside Mount Rainier in that little town? It was like 6,000 was population, and there were 8 drive-through coffee huts.
Goodness.
I was like, what the heck? So people love their coffee, and it's starting earlier, and so we thought, for 2 reasons, if we could, there's 11,000 people that travel up and down Jefferson, and so if we can, number one, get them to know that we exist, because that's been part of the challenge, and get them introduced to the coffee there, then the 2 can tag team. So what we're doing, a lot of times we'll hand out a coupon to say, hey, come visit our cafe, on a Saturday morning or whatever. And because the demand for the coffee was growing so quickly, and I knew that this is an industry that is growing. So co-working's growing, and the specialty coffee industry are growing. And to do co-working, it takes a lot of overhead. I mean, this is 3,700 square feet, and it's not even, the ideal location is probably 10,000 square feet. So we have 250 in that little trailer.
Right.
And of course, the long-term plan is to build a permanent drive-through, just a 300 square foot drive-through hut, and still have this. And the leverage of both has been great because it's attracted new customers to here and given our current customers a reason to visit us 2 or 3 more times per week. So, they work in the city, and so they might only see us once a week. Well, now they're coming through on their way into the city 3 times. So, and it's just like anything. It's there, some people drink, some people smoke, and some people like their coffee, and it becomes part of their lifestyle. And it's so much easier when you get that special drink that somebody else made for you instead of I gotta go home and use my French press and all this stuff. It's like, I'm just going to go to Exit 11.
Yeah, I wouldn't know where to start. So.
Neither did I. I mean, I'm glad my husband was so passionate about coffee, because I really was like, oh yeah, I'll just use my 8 o'clock coffee with a little sugar-free vanilla. And he was like, oh my gosh. He's like, good coffee, you should be able to drink it black. Not that you have to, but it shouldn't have that yucky taste that you have to put tons of sugar and flavor in it. So.
Right. Well,
anyway,
what you've got going on here is fascinating. And if anybody wants to, come down, talk about office space, talk about copying, grab a coffee, grab a sandwich, come see Angela. I mean, I think it's really cool what you're doing. So thank you so much for letting me interview you.
And I appreciate the opportunity. This has been fun. I have a new friend now.
That's good.
Thanks.
So thanks, Angela. You
Thank
take
you,
care.
Lisa. I appreciate it.
Okay.